Hi, this is Majin Noni, and welcome to another edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Disappointing. Now, this week was rather difficult, but towards the end of my stack, I actually found some reasonable titles that would fit perfectly for this. Let's start off with The Good. The Superior Foes of Spider-Man. You're probably asking yourself, why is this good? Because it's nothing like what you would normally expect from a book. Every other title that I read this week was superhero meets supervillain, bang, smash, things happen. This is a tale of 5 washed out supervillains who call themselves the Sinister Six, and they need some serious help. This isn't even about them beating up on Spider-Man. This is basically the tale of Boomerang. We get a quick origin of him in a comedic way, and his ragtag band of losers. And just the fact that the way they're doing things is rather entertaining. You have Shocker and Speed Demon going to a pet store to get bird food, and there's such a bunch of washed up villains. They have to steal a dog, and then later on you have the new version of the Wasp robbing a comic book store. I mean, this really sets these villains at an all-time low, and that's what really makes this book really entertaining. Rick Spencer did a great job. You know, we have an interesting voice with these characters. I mean, they're already known losers to begin with, but now we have a voice to go along with their, I guess you can say, the failed missions that they go on. And for that, I have to admit, this was actually a real fresh of breath air. And I'm really hoping that this book continues to be good, because it was really entertaining, surprisingly. I actually had a very low expectation for this, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm thinking that this book is actually really good. Now, let's go with The Bad. Right there. I think this word right here says enough. What if, how about this? What if this book was actually good? Then maybe this would be an entertaining read. But this was oh my god. You know, like the basic premise of What If was you took an important moment in time and one thing slightly changed. One. And because that one thing changed, everything goes out of whack. You know, like, I don't know, like, what if Spider-Man stopped the villain, and I mean the robber, and Uncle Ben survived? You know, it's like that kind of a scenario. This was, what if a writer and editorial team decided to completely rewrite the story? And that's what happens. I mean, it starts off with the Guardians of the Galaxy getting killed right from the beginning. We have Nova now playing a primary role in the story rather than him crashing and being unconscious. Even this whole thing with Utopia is vastly different. None of these people were there. I mean, some of them were, but I mean, come on, really? The Heroes for Hire crew, none of that stuff happened. And this basically, and then they even wrote Magneto as a villain, the way his dialogue is. And there's this big shocking moment at the end. And when I read that, I'm like, done. Just like that, done. I don't know if I can actually sit there and read the rest of that series, because it was completely and utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Now let's go for disappointing. And judging by this cover, I think you already know what company this is. Trinity of Sin Pandora. Now, there was a certain other DC book that was leading up to potentially being another disappointment. But I think this really was the biggest disappointment of this week. This is a prequel to Trinity War. This is the big book. This is the book that you're supposed to read to make you get excited about the series and want to jump into it. It didn't do that. We got an origin story from Pandora, which was rather nice, but this does not make me want to buy the book. It doesn't tell me what the Trinity War is going to be about. Like, for an example, AVX, it's pretty straightforward to what it's about. Avengers versus X-Men. And you don't need that much of a prelude to go into it. It's good to go. Now this here is, Trinity War, where you have the 3 Justice Leagues. Now granted, that's the same premise as AVX, but they don't hate each other. There's no animosity, true animosity that was built up, other than Amanda Walker says you got to take them out, which to me isn't a good enough build-up. And if it was just that's one thing, but you're throwing in Pandora, the whole New 52, and it's not really giving me enough. And before we go into the story a little bit more, let me tell you something else. DC marketing has no concept of how to advertise a big title book. Now, granted, it does say the end of the DC. I got that. That's key. But this being down here does not help the sale of this book. Let me show you an example. Here's the Avengers. What do you notice different? Which book can you identify on a shelf which would tell you immediately that it's a prelude to something? Forget that this book exists for a second. At least on a shelf, keep in mind when you go back a couple months, or sorry, not a couple months, a week, when this book goes to the 3-month wall, you have no clue that this is a prelude to jack crap. Because most comic shops have a space issue, and they don't have enough space to put all the books nice and neat like this. And in most cases, they cover books like that. So this way you can kind of go, okay, well, I need this one and this one, and you pull them from the shelf. Because you decided to put the prequel to Trinity War right here, if you're casually going through the shelf looking, going, God, I know I need something. There's supposed to be a prelude to something, and I can't remember what it was called, and you just go right over it. Because technically that's not enough right here to tell you that this is a prelude to anything. Also, let's look at it from another standpoint. Let's just say these 2 books are on a shelf. They both came out at the same time, and you're looking at it, and you're trying to figure out what to buy. When you first look at a title, you're usually looking up here because you're looking for a name. What's the book called? And you're looking for artwork. And by putting the prelude up here, it tells you immediately this is important. Most cases, you're probably not even going to realize it says a prequel to the Trinity War. If you're just scanning a shelf, you may not even notice that. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, putting a Trinity of Sin, that doesn't necessarily tell you that it's a Trinity War prequel. They really should have put something else up on top to indicate that this is a must-buy book. And that's where I think Marvel succeeds, because they throw that shit up on top. They put it in a language that you can identify, and it's good to go. DC, it's cryptic. Now let's go with the reason why I'm saying this is a disappointment. This is supposed to be the book that if nobody knows what's going on in any of the titles, you're supposed to buy this book and go, yes, I want to jump right into this thing because it looks like it's better than ice cream in Arizona. And I can guarantee you this really doesn't do much at all. Yeah, we get to see the 7 deadly sins that we've already seen in the Justice League, and they got, didn't they get beat by Shazam already? So it kind of makes me wonder, really? And from there, it doesn't really, for an origin issue, I'll call it like it is. It's a decent origin issue. It does the things it needs to do. They need to tell us who Pandora is. They need to tell us what her story is, and they need to tell us why she's on this mad quest to, fix things. And they do that, and that part is fine. But this doesn't Where the disappointment comes from is it doesn't make me want to read the Trinity War more. Now here's a spoiler. They have the thing at the end where she discovers, well, you have to have either the greatest heart or the brightest heart or the darkest heart or something to that effect, and so she's immediately going to go to Superman. So you would think if there's a curse, this is a good thing, and then the Justice League would come and help her. But, I guess you can say what's going to happen is now you're going to have Justice League Dark go, whoa, 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 Soups, that's not necessarily a good thing. And so they're going to probably try to stop that. And then you're probably going to have Justice League America going, whoa, 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 stop that clock, because there's no way we're going to let the Justice League do something because Amanda Walker said no. And, that's where we're running into a problem here, is, that it doesn't, if this is going to be something that's going to, how do I word this? This could either piss off everybody or give us nothing in return. And by that I mean, if Pandora opened the door to destroy the old universe and create the new 52, technically fixing it would destroy the new 52 and then go back. Retcon it back. Or reset it to another relaunch. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that that's what's going to happen, because DC has invested too much money in the new 52. And there is absolutely no way we're going to see a new 52, this quickly. That would just mean that they were wrong, and they're not going to do that. I mean, Xbox did it, but there's no way DC is going to do that. Now, the second problem I have here is figuring out that DC is most likely not going to do a retcon. What's going to happen? Oh, they lift her curse, but the world's probably going to remain the same. You're going to have, the Justice League now knows about the Justice League America. Maybe some of them will be friends again. Maybe some of them won't be. Justice League Dark is still going to be the bastard childs, because nobody's going to love them. And, I don't really see much good coming out of this series. It doesn't, to me at least, it doesn't have the groundbreaking changes or anything like that could potentially happen. I mean, this is still a fragile new universe, and they're still introducing things. And to make radical changes now, it's kind of stupid, because you don't need to do something like this to make a radical change. They're already making radical changes through their stories by saying, no, that's not what's going to happen. I mean, this isn't the character that you knew. We're just introducing them differently now. So they don't need to do this. The other thing is, going back to, we already know the ending. We already know all the superheroes are gone at the end. They advertise it. They're gone. And then they even put it out there with the month of villains. So even, we know what the ending is. They're all going to disappear. And then we already know that within 30, 60 days or whatever, they're going to come back. What's the point? I mean, the fact that they say, all the superheroes are going to be gone, we know that Superman's not going to be gone for long. We know Batman's not going to be gone for long. Those are all temporary things, but they should have said radical changes and then not tell us anything. It should have been mysterious covers, villains control the world type thing. Don't tell us that the heroes are gone. Leave that be a mystery, so this way when we get to the end of the road, the journey, that's when we're going to go, holy crap, they're gone. And then you're going to see the internet going, they're gone. Oh, but they'll be back, but they're gone. But what happens if they're not? I don't understand. That's what it should have been like. Now we don't do that, because we already know, they're gone, but yet Superman movie, Batman movie, Justice League movie, they'll be back in, 30 days? Yeah, about 30. Maybe 60. Please. So, this is already going off, I think this has already started off bad. The story, while it was a great introduction of the character, it's also a couple years too late, maybe. You should have done this a little bit earlier. This issue should have been building up. You should have taken Pandora, thrown her into more of the stories, put her in there. A couple pages here, a couple pages there. Put her into the actual storylines of certain key books make people want to have a vested interest in this character. To put her as a #1 issue on a mini-series, you're rolling the dice on whether or not, one, you have an informed reader to know that this is a Trinity War tie-in. Two, you're banking on somebody wanting to take a chance on a new character. And three, you're just also hoping that people will buy it because it's a #1. And also, really, why isn't there top-tier writers on this thing? Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. DC doesn't have anymore, except for Johns, and he's already writing everything. And that's the problem, is you don't have a creative team that you look at and you go, holy crap, I gotta buy that book. And I don't want to necessarily bag on the 50 million artists that they have here, because that's what they do have. They have tons of different pencilers and inkers and stuff like that going on here. But the problem is, while this is, it's well illustrated, you're going to have some good and some bad, I think, in some cases. But as a whole, it's well done. But it's not earth-shattering names that make you go, I must have. And this is the other failing point and disappointment of this whole book. The creative team is not really impressive, at least in a named point of view. And the story, the story just doesn't drag me in. And I think, now granted, this is a #1, and you can argue the point of, well, geez, Maginoni, it's a #1 issue, so why are you dogging on it? There could be more. Well, I can tell you exactly why. It's actually really simple, and that's because right here we have the Pandora battle starting. Maybe if you had started this way back here in April, 3 issues in, and then boom, bang, here we go, then I might say, you know what? This is a great start, because now we know who Pandora is. We see the build up, and it's going to explode on that very first issue. To me, it doesn't have that build up. And by the way, for those of you who saw the Trinity War pencils that they released, what did that look like to you? AVX. Exactly. So anyways, let me get you a code. I would give you a code for this, but there's no code. I'll give you this one. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video up. Let me know what you guys think especially about these 2 books. Oh, you know what? There probably was a code. I threw it over here. Here you go. One unlucky person can read this. Monstrosity. And I'll have more reviews and stuff later, so until next time.